Humanitarians live. Usually we do it with Vicky. Vicky couldn't make it, so I'm doing it on my own. And here is a topic that I want to discuss today. Excuse me. That come up in my coaching Transitioning Humanitarians, the topic of it's going to take a long time. Excuse me. And when we keep thinking that it's going to take a long time, what is usually what we do is we then keep actually delaying the thing that we want to go for. Have you noticed it? And as a result, we make sure that it actually takes a long time. So here are the examples that I want to bring to your attention of how people use this against themselves in the transitioning period, or when they're thinking about transitioning. So for instance, they want to transition to start a family, or start a new relationship, or be with their family, or transition to another sector, transition to back home, or to headquarters, to the field, whichever the way you are transitioning, right? We have this nagging feeling of, oh my God, it's going to take a long time. It's going to be hard. It's going to be, basically, it's not happening soon, right? This is the belief we have, many of us. And what that does is when we feel that, we just make this delay into the future. We just continue being very vague about what we can do, how to make this thing work the way we want to. We don't take any action on it. We just keep wondering and pondering and reflecting about it. And then we don't really test things. We don't really seriously go for it. And we just keep being in the waiting mode. And then as a result, we just make sure that it takes a long time to even get ourselves first to make a decision, or to think about how to transition and what to do, or defining the roles and goals. All of this, we don't really do that, right? So I have noticed this with my humanitarians who do that especially when they want to go for a relationship. They tell me usual argument, which is, if it took me 35 years, if it took me 40 years to find someone, and then that didn't work out, then I can't wait for another 35 years or 40 years, right? Another similar example that my clients tell me is, it took me 20 years to get to this level of success, or 20 years or 10 years to get to this career ladder. And if I'm going to start something new, then obviously it's going to take another 20 years, 10 years. And therefore, I can't really do that. I can't really transition. Therefore, let me just stay where I am currently. At least I have gotten myself to this place. This is the arguments that my clients come to me very often. I'm assuming this might be also familiar to you in your own thinking process. But here are the things that I'm suggesting to you that we're not really looking at, that I have coached several of my clients on this, is A, we're no longer the same person as we used to be back in the day. B, we're not always starting from scratch, even though we feel like we're starting from scratch, but we're not. We're starting with all the years of experience that we already have, all the confidence, all the wisdom, all the assertiveness, all the skills of communication, all the skills of learning, all the skills of making things work the way we want to, all of the skills that we already have, and we built it up. So therefore, if we're going to start something new, let's say if we start a business, if we start going for another position in the private sector, whatever it is, we bring our experience with us, and therefore it's not going to take the same amount. It can't take the same amount. It will definitely take a lot less, a lot less, because of who we are as a person now, with all the experience that we have. And I think we're not often thinking about that, because we just feel like we want to use it. So oftentimes the feeling that I get is that we want to use it as a way for us to stall ourselves. We want to use this argument as a way to just cover our fear, our worries. We want to use it as an excuse for how we can't really go for what we want to, and therefore this sounds like a very reasonable or rational way of, yeah, it's going to take a long time. Therefore, why would you do, right? And therefore, we never go and do. But here is the thing that I want to most highlight to you is what happens when you actually do go for a transition, when you actually do the things that you want to do. Here's what I want to highlight from my coaching several, I don't know, by now, uh, dozens at least on this specific topic is when we understand that we're no longer the same person that we used to be when we started our humanitarian career. We are now a lot different person thanks to all the failures, all the achievements, all the things that we have done. And therefore, now we actually have even better tools, better skills, better ways of making the next thing work even better and faster. And the testament to this is one of my clients, for instance. She told me that she can't really start a new relationship because the last one, it took 20 years, and why would it now happen? And after coaching with her on this topic specifically, we've realized that she just does not want to feel uncomfortable. She just does not want to be disappointed if this doesn't happen. And therefore, she just keeps using this as a shield for not going for what she wants. Once we like got her realized, then she started dating and then she met someone and she's now in a very happy relationship that are thinking about how to create a family, right? So as you can see that it didn't take her 20 years to create another relationship like she was telling herself. It actually took her less than a year, maybe even, excuse me, several months of dating. So how is that possible that something that took her so many years and now it takes only a few months? So obviously it's not the quantity game, right? It's not that just because you did something for this many months, now you can only do it this many. It doesn't work that way. But I think in our heads, that's what we make it mean. We just believe that if it takes this long to build this, then it will take exactly the same amount to build this, which is a very weird, logically sounding argument with ourselves, but it's not logical simply because we're not counting of who we have become in the process already. What are our skill sets that we have built up already up to now? All the compounding effects of all the things that we have done now. Now we get to use it to build the next thing, which is likely to take a lot less time. Like in my case, that I used to believe that, oh, replicating my salary would take ages because it took me 10 years to get to that salary was my story, right? And then when I started like transitioning, after 2 years of confusion, lots of different drama and identity issues and all of this, when I started stably working on my work, on my coaching work, I have been able to do that on the third year. So whatever it took me 10 years to build in the past, now if we're looking at solely the financial aspect, it took me 2 years. So as you can see that when we have this type of I call it shielding, like excuse argument that we just keep using it so that we can cover our fears of failure, fears of disappointment, fears of shame in case things don't work out. We just keep covering this by logically sounding um, arguments. And then also the other thing is then other people keep agreeing to it, right? Other people keep saying, oh yeah, absolutely. It took you so long and it was so hard to do this, so obviously it will be the same experience. No, it will not be. At least the people that I have coached, my own experience of transitioning, it was not the case. So therefore, next time when you are thinking about transitioning and going for something that you want, Like, take it seriously, your desires, or take it, even if you're not going to act on them, even if you're not going to do anything about them, at least give yourself a fair chance of looking at, okay, if I were to transition, how would I do this? Where would I go? What are the, excuse me, what are the plans and steps I would take? But also, when my brain says it's going to take a long time, or 10 years, 20 years, because it took you this long, then ask yourself, is that really true? Right? Is that, or how do I really know that this is true? Or why do I believe that that is the case? And if, why do I believe that I'm just using it as a way to stall myself or delay what I want or keep not going for what I want? Why do I do this? Probably because of deep down fear of things not working out, being disappointed, failing, and then coming back, whatever the fears that you have, that's probably covered underneath it. And then you get to then see, okay, what is underneath this argument that I keep telling myself that it's going to take a long time, it's going to be hard, and all of this. Let me look underneath it and see what are the fears that's coming up. And then what do you want to do with those fears, right? How do you want to handle them? How do you want to get ready for them? How do you learn to trust yourself and your abilities and learn the necessary skills so that those fears don't become so strong, so inhibitory that you don't pursue what you want to do, right? So therefore, I really wanted to for you to think about who you have become in the years of you going for what you really wanted at the time, right? How much you have changed, how much of the professional you have become, how much of the independence you have gained, how much of the skills you have learned. All of this now you get to use to create new things you want even faster and with more success because of the experience that you have, because of the skill set that you have. Here is another thing that I want to point out to when you are thinking about this is that our brain has this biased filter, it seems like, when the fear is high. Our brain, in order to keep us safe, right, our brain tends to argue with ourselves to not include the experience that we have. And that's a crazy thing is that usually we are good at showing our experience of, oh, I have this experience, I have that experience, especially when we go for the interview, we are good at telling about our experience. But when it comes to going for our desires and for going for our dreams, transitioning for living the life we want to, making the impact, somehow our brain does not want to take that experience as an evidence for how we can make things faster, better, the way we want to. We don't really use that experience. We just somehow feel like we're starting from scratch. And therefore, my suggestion to you is never think of it you're starting from scratch unless you find it useful, right? You may find it useful in the context of, okay, I'm going to make everything from a fresh slate or from scratch so that I can redesign, rebuild in the way that I want to. If that feels useful to you, then go for it. But otherwise, don't use your experience against yourself by saying, oh, I don't have the relevant experience. My experience won't be valuable for anything. I just need to throw away my experience if I transition here. That type of approach is never useful because you're not starting from scratch. Even if you are starting something else, so another job, you're always using the experience, the skill set that you have. Now, the question is, why do you not want to use them? Right? Again, your brain may come up with reasons for not using the experience that you have, which is again, I think the brain, because of wanting to protect us, the brain keeps creating these like protective mechanisms in order to say, well, you don't really have the experience, you don't really, it will take a long time, it will take as long as it did the last one. it just keeps protecting us so that we don't go for the thing that we want. Because our survival protective mechanism is so strong that it is able to convince us with logically sounding arguments, which are not logical, but that's how our brain present to us, and therefore we don't go for the things that we want, right? So watch out for that so that you don't allow your brain's biased filter to just argue against what you want by telling you that it will take as long as it did the last thing. And I also would like for you to like play around with questioning that premise and even like going to, okay, if I believe it takes as much as the other one, let's say it takes 10 years because the last career I made successful was 10 years, let's say. It takes another 10 years to make it successful. Now question that premise of why do I believe that is the case? Why am I not accounting for all the skills and who I am currently to make it even faster? What am I afraid of? Right? And then having this honest and genuine conversation to understand that it's never about how long it will take. It's never about how hard it is. It's more about how we're afraid of making things worse, making mistake, being ashamed, being judged. These are likely to be the reasons why we're not going for what we want. Now we need to learn how to deal with those emotions, how to process them, how to approach them, how to react to them in the moment. So we're not afraid of them, but rather we're able to look at them, why they're happening, what we can do with them so that we continue pursuing the amazing life we want. Okay, my dears, have a beautiful week, everyone. It was my honor to talk to you. And if you need help coaching on this topic or any other topic on humanitarian life and transitioning, absolutely come over coach with me. I would love to get you to the other side of transitioning. And that's what my jam is. Thank you so much. See you very soon.